Today I'm going to be reviewing the Apologetics Study Bible, originally released back in 2007, and then re-released last year in 2017. Back in 2007, Holman released the Apologetics Study Bible in the what's referred to as the HCSB, and then re-released it in the updated CSB. I'm looking more specifically at two major aspects. That is the quality of the Bible, and just focusing on specifically the articles. And if you're not familiar with bonded leather, this is the brown bonded leather. It's a composite. Pros and cons to bonded leather is that typically people complain that it's stiffer. With that said, I have found it to be quite durable. I carried this particular Bible with me for years, and the only flaws to it now are some scratches on the gold gilding. This particular edition was released in Holman's Leather Touch. For those who are not familiar with Leather Touch is a faux leather, a fake leather. Leather Touch, in my experience, with active weekly use, basically the finish wears off quite rapidly. Usually I see it wear off in about a matter of 2 to 3 years. For those who don't know, I've been rebinding Bibles off and on as a hobby for 12 years. I have also been involved in apologetics for about the same amount of time. So let's start off first off with binding issues. Couple little details. This one has a brown and gold ribbon. This one has one single brown ribbon. Any kind of bookmark, whether it be your regular shove something in the Bible, or a ribbon, is important for when you're doing apologetics, so that way you can just like preaching, just so that you can access things faster. One of the little details is, you'll notice, these particular ribbons are shiny on both sides. That's because these are double-faced, 100% satin ribbons. They are thicker and a nice tight thread count. This particular ribbon is what has become more common. It's shiny on one side and then matte on the other. That's because this is a single-sided satin ribbon. It's not as thick, and it has a lower thread count. Why this is important is because this ribbon will fray and give out faster than these two. Minor little detail, but minor details are what make up quality. The inside of this Bible is made up of a leatherette end sheet. This one is paper. This is important because leatherette end sheets have proven to hold up a Bible's binding. It holds the cover on the text block far superior than paper. With heavy use over 10 years, there is no splitting whatsoever in the gutter. Typically, with very little use with paper, and I haven't used this one yet, you'll start to see splitting in the gutter, typically at the top and at the bottom. This will start to pull the cover away from the text block. A couple other things you'll notice with this particular Bible. You have, so this is, I call this the end sheet, and then these are the end pages, to just differentiate between the two. This has two thick, glossy end pages in the front, and then it has a block of several end pages in the back. This is important because end pages help keep the signatures, the end signatures, stronger. A signature is the tiny little booklets that make up the entire Bible. You can see, if I can get to zoom in, you can typically see it back there. The little ridges in the back show where the pages are folded, and then they're sewn together in the back. Those are referred to as signatures. End signatures are the signature on the front and the signature in the back. These end pages keep those end signatures stronger. In this particular Bible, you only have one, and it's not glossy. It's just a thicker paper, something between a cardstock and like a pastel drawing paper. On the end, it has 4, still less than the 2007. A couple other things to note. This Bible has thicker onion paper. You have less what is referred to as ghosting. That is being able to see the words on the other side of the page. This paper in the 2007 is most definitely thicker than the paper in this Bible. Thinner paper will also contribute to the overall Bible breaking down faster with consistent use. The combination of the thinner paper, the end pages and end sheets won't last as long. With consistent, solid use, hard use, I would give this Bible about 3 to 5 years. This one, obviously, as you can see, I've had it for 10 years. I've used it off and on with good, hard, consistent use. Has held up quite well. Another thing, when you open this Bible, the paper, now I live in the South, so it's quite a bit drier. But when I open this Bible, flip through it, close it, it flattens out. This Bible, due to whatever paper they used here, the printing, when you open it up and flip through it, I forget the specific term, but it puffs up. The paper will begin to start to feather up and start to spread. Now, with regards to aesthetic elements, I think the font and then just the overall design of this Bible is far more elegant than the new one. You have a beautiful gold design on the spine, whereas on this, it's blocky. And then what they did on the inside is also just very blocky. And then they utilized photographs rather than design elements. Now, with regards to the content, I'm going to focus only on the articles. I went through, did my best to count all the new articles. And I counted 16 new articles. For a 10-year release, I don't find that to be all that impressive, especially with the reality that they also, from Bible to Bible, they actually deleted articles. You will not find this article or this article or this article in the 2017 one. So that ends up being only 13 new articles. The articles that they did delete out of the old one, 2 were by Jürgen Kanner. If you're familiar with the whole debacle behind Jürgen Kanner, proving to be a fraud with regards to his jihadist background, I think they made a wise decision in deleting those articles out of here. If anything, whether you agree or disagree with whether or not Jürgen Kanner is a fraud, the mere fact that that can be a stumbling block to doing apologetics for those who want to discredit him, it's just better to get rid of that information, in my opinion. Another major concern that I have in dealing with apologetics, as far as I can determine, the articles from here to here have not been updated. One of the examples that I want to point out is in reference to J.P. Moreland's topic on the mind. For anybody who is familiar with mind-body debate, these are just 3 of what I consider some of the most important ones. Nature of Man, basically Neither Beast Nor God by Gilbert Meilander. Doesn't directly deal with mind-body, but it's related. And then you have Jaworski's works on the philosophy of mind that have been released in that time. Such information has not even been utilized in these articles. Why that's important is because you have a 10-year difference. J.P. Moreland's work on mind-body problems have been debated already. So these are 10 years old, and they just put them into this. In apologetics, you need updates, or at least responses. Now, with that said, in the new one of the new articles is by J.P. Moreland on neuroscience and mind-body. So at least they have an additional article in here that touches on some of the more recent debates. I still think it's important in apologetics to at least update the articles. So overall, the quality of this particular Bible is, in my assessment, poorer than this one. The additional articles I don't find to be in apologetics work to be a big deal. So for example, can evolution explain ethics? I think that's a great article, because that is a topic of conversation that does come up frequently when discussing Christianity. Obviously, have Darwinism and Dawkins disproved God? Dawkins at this point, 2017, was largely passé. What are the foundations of Islam? Meh. Does the Bible condone genocide? I'm surprised that they have the article by Matt Flanagan, considering that Paul Copan, he's the one that's been writing on that topic the most lately. Another article, several articles that I'm surprised that are still in this are, has the Bible inaccurately copied down through the centuries? And then also, how can we know the Bible includes correct books? Norman Geisler. Norman Geisler has not written on the topic of the canon and textual criticism in so many years. Who has? Daniel Wallace. Daniel Wallace is the preeminent, what you would call evangelical author, contributor. He is involved in New Testament textual criticism. Norman Geisler is not the best authority on this subject anymore. So even then, so one of my concerns is that even from this, they didn't update the articles, but one of the articles that they put in here is, how do we decide between contrary expert opinions? Well, they put in articles in here that are no longer the expert opinions. I don't find that to be overly helpful in apologetics. With that said, you've got a lot of phenomenal articles here. This is a far superior Bible than this one, but to utilize this in apologetics these days, you're going to have to be more familiar with apologetics and the relevant topics of our day to know whether or not the information in this one is still relevant. I hope that helps. God bless.